What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FA podcast. Happy Football Friday. Another light news week, but we do have some stuff to talk about, anyways. Stadium news. Yeah, Ben's gonna join us shortly. He had to get that Chrome update, Jimmy, just like you did.
I still have to finish the update.
Oh, jeez.
Had another update this week.
Oh, dang. Well, yeah, let's get it rolling here. We're going to do the Panthers and Bills draft recap, our second to last one. Last one will be on Monday, and then we'll crank it into gear, start looking at the season coming up by division. So nothing breaking. UFL news here. Tucking a couple NFL workouts for some San Antonio Brahmas. The Cowboys working out both Brahmas defensive end Wyatt Ray and running back John Lovett. So we know the running back situation there in Dallas is still, I still think it's not great. Throwing out Zeke Elliott and Rico Dowdle as your top two backs. Other guys like Deuce Vaughn in the mix as well. But yeah, I mean, John Lovett had a great season with the Brahmas. Went to the championship game with them, and check the stats on him here. 421 rushing yards there, 4.1 yards per carry, 5 rushing touchdowns. Mild receiving numbers. They didn't really throw to the backs a lot outside of Anthony McFarland, who went crazy in the games that he played with 15 receptions for 207 yards and a score. But yeah, I think Lovett would be a good one for Dallas. Ray probably as well. I think they need more off-ball linebacker help than pass rush, but Ray had a good season for San Antonio as well. NFL news, some stadium updates here. The Panthers, my Panthers, wearing my Bryce Young jersey today. They're getting some money from the city of Charlotte. The city approving a joint $800 million renovation to Bank of America Stadium. That's going to tie the Panthers to Charlotte for the next 20 years. So they're going to be in Charlotte for at least the next 20 seasons, which is a good thing. I think it's a great place. Never been to a game there, driven by the stadium a couple times. It's looked pretty solid. But they've never had that has been their stadium their entire franchise's history so far. So it's held up. I mean, they came in '96, and it still looks pretty good to me anyways. Like I said, I've never been inside, but from the outside it looks okay. And they did renovations a couple years ago as well. I know they updated the walking up the ramps to walk up to the seats, and I think they added an atrium as well. I can't remember, but and the city of Jacksonville doing the same with the Jaguars on a little bit bigger of a scale. They approved a $1.4 billion with the B renovation to Everbank Stadium. It's going to be completed by 2028. So they're going to play at Everbank Stadium in this season and next season. 2026 is going to be a limited capacity. They estimated just 43,500 in 2026 for the capacity there. They have to find somewhere else to play in 2027. And then the renovations will be complete and they will reopen the stadium in 2028. And I kind of LOL'd at this when I saw the mock-ups for this thing here. So, yeah. Did they steal the Rams stadium or or what?
I mean, it's not bad, especially playing in Jacksonville. It's a very warm city. You want to protect the players from the elements. That was one big complaint a lot of players have when they have to play in Jacksonville. It's just the heat is awful to deal with. My big thing is they better not get rid of the pools. If they get rid of them pools, I ain't going. I mean,
I don't know.
In the first place, but you better not touch the pool. It's the coolest thing in the planet. Football stadium with pool, that should be there. Yeah, I don't mind the upgrades. I mean, it's a modernization. You're like a lot of stadiums are going dome now because you want to avoid the elements. So it makes sense for Jacksonville.
And I can't remember, like Jacksonville, I can't recall them getting a Super Bowl. You know,
Super Bowl 39.
Okay, they had one, right?
That was the Patriots and Eagles.
Yeah, because we see it in Tampa and Miami all the time, in terms of Florida, but you don't see Jacksonville getting the Super Bowl like those two cities.
Yeah, there have historically been just awful problems with the Jacksonville Jaguars stadium. It's been needing a facelift for about a decade now, and this is very good for the stadium.
I mean, I had a decent time when I was in there once for the Georgia-Florida game, and it was pretty solid. I mean, this looks super nice right here. Look at these seats. It's down at the 25, 30-yard line there. I want to sit there. Look, you even get the broadcast on these little TVs too.
Yeah, just in case I wasn't looking up in the field.
That's lit.
I'm guessing you could use those to watch other games in case.
If I was the Jags, I would not let you do that. But
if I had my kid, I would put Bluey on so that he could watch that and be nice and comfortable, and I can watch the game. Win-win.
I just thought it was hilarious that it pretty much resembles SoFi Stadium. The translucent roof and the shape of the roof as well. It looked like it was kind of the same concept with the open sides.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
It's a very popular building concept for a lot of stadiums. The Allegiant Stadium kind of has that vibe as well. My biggest fear is that football stadiums are going to start becoming cookie cutter, which is not something that is to the benefit of the league. I think they really should take the baseball approach when it comes to their stadium. Each one should be unique in terms of just fan experience and how each one is, how each one just looks. But yeah, I hope they don't all just hop in on the SoFi Stadium trend and make them just SoFi Stadium 2.0.
Well, I think the new when teams have built new stadiums, they have been unique. Talking about Allegiant Stadium and then SoFi, we haven't had that many new stadiums come up. We're gonna get one, hopefully within the next 10 years or so from the Commanders, whenever they figure out where they're actually going to put a new stadium. Obviously, the Bears are going to get theirs shortly as well, with the new Lakefront Stadium hopefully coming. That one looked really awesome. But, stadiums don't come up that often. And I think we are getting to that era, though, where a lot of teams are looking to get a new facility and not just renovate, even though we just talked about the Panthers and the Jags renovating. That's one thing that I was surprised about the Jags is that they're not doing a new stadium. It's just a renovation. And the thing that I'm having an issue with, $1.4 billion, like, you can build a stadium for double that. So why not build the stadium instead? That's my thing with that.
Yeah.
The NFL informed its teams there's no supplemental draft this year. So, just like Field Yates, we got all of our supplemental mock draft picks right. 100% accuracy. That's because no players entered the supplemental draft this year. So I think I read something that said we haven't had a supplemental draft in like 3 of the last 5 years. So it's really dying out. I mean, there's usually only a couple players eligible and that enter. And the last time we had it, I think it was 2 years ago, neither of the 2 players that entered the supplemental draft were drafted. So, yeah, it's kind of a dying out, but we always have Josh Gordon. And there have been some other guys that have had really good careers through the supplemental draft. The Eagles, they announced their 2 dates for their Kelly Green jerseys, and I'm excited. They're 2 colder weather games, or at least you would think, being the dates that they are. Week 9 against the Jags. That's November 3rd. And, of course, Week 17, December 29th at home against the Cowboys. They will be wearing Kelly Green, and we'll have the division locked up by then, so it won't matter. Good to go. But I am the Saquon and Kelly Green's going to look super sexy. Yes.
I love those Kelly Greens. What I wish they would do, who are they playing? Cowboys wear those. The Cowboys should wear those like ones with the blue stars on the side, like kind of white and blue, instead of their normal white with the blue pants. I think that would look real good on TV.
Yeah.
And then Jags with their new uniforms. Ooh, we're gonna have fun with that.
All right, that's it for the news. Not much going on.
Welcome to the summer.
So the Panthers and the Bills. Yeah, Ben's still having some issues there trying to get on. But anyways, let's go. The Panthers here. First round, they traded back up for one spot with the Bills, actually, as the Bills traded down with the Chiefs. But the Panthers trading into the first round, 32nd overall, wide receiver Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. Got to keep him in the Carolina family there. Second round, 46th, running back Jonathan Brooks from Texas. Third round, 72nd, linebacker Trevin Wallace from Kentucky. Fourth round, 101, tight end Jatavian Sanders from Texas. Fifth round, 157, corner Sho Smith-Wade, Washington State. Sixth round, 200th overall defensive tackle Jaden Crumedy from Mississippi State. Seventh round, 240th, linebacker Michael Barnett from Michigan. And since it's my team, I'm going to go first. I really enjoyed it. I liked the majority of this draft. I was only left with one need, and it kind of doesn't matter anymore because they signed Austin Corbett in free agency. I had center. I thought they were – I know when we were doing some of the mocks, especially when we did the team three-rounders, I know I was targeting center like Zach Frazier, those kind of guys. In the second and third rounds for Carolina. Even on day 3, look, the Bills got Sid Van Pran in the 5th. I thought that would have been kind of an option there as well, but they signed Austin Corbett in free agency. They're going to move him to center. So I am fine with that. But otherwise, like I said, I love it. What has this offseason been about? It's been about helping Bryce. They got a new head coach who's a quarterback guy, has helped a lot of guys upgrade their career or resurrect their career with Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, the last couple that Dave Canales has worked with. So, like that move, and then get him weapons. See, one of the biggest things last year for Carolina was, yeah, Bryce didn't look great, but the receivers couldn't get open. It was really Adam Thielen and everyone else. So they get the trade for Deontay Johnson, who has one of the best open scores in the NFL in the last 5 seasons. Xavier Leggett is going to be a guy that's going to help out a ton. He can get some separation as well. And then I am excited about Jonathan Mingo in year 2 with his connection that he had with Bryce down the stretch as well. But like the Xavier Leggett pick, not the guy that I thought they were going to go with. I thought they were going to go with the guy like the Bills got in Keon Coleman. I wanted a bigger dude, which Leggett is not huge. I believe he's 6'1". If our lads would like to work. I'm trying to click on Xavier Leggett's name, but yeah, 6'1", 227. But apparently he's looked really good so far this offseason. Love the Texas boys. Jonathan Brooks, Jatavian Sanders. I thought those were 2 home run picks. I know Brooks coming off the ACL. We'll see how he looks in training camp and early on. But I think that's an easy home run pick there. Even if he has to start splitting time with Chuba Hubbard. I think we talked about this when we were talking fantasy. Jonathan Brooks, I think he could be a league winner at the end of 2024 for some team there, whether dynasty or redraft. And then the defensive picks, I was okay with most of them. I like the Smith-Wade pick. He had a great Senior Bowl, 2 interceptions in that game, defensive MVP there. Crumedy is a guy that's a projectable guy. He was, didn't have a lot of sack numbers at Mississippi State, but he's a guy that can stuff the run and hopefully give you some potential in the pass rush. The linebackers I wasn't sold on. I had off ball as a need. They did get Josie Jewell, which I'm a big Josie Jewell guy. Love Josie Jewell. They got him from Denver in free agency, so I really love that. They needed a lot of depth, though, behind him and Shaq Thompson, and I thought it was too high for Wallace. 72 was a little high for me. I liked a lot of other guys around that area. Obviously, Adrian Cooper and Jeremiah Trotter went earlier than that. I can't remember who else was around that, but there were other dudes that I kind of liked a little bit more. And then doubling up on linebacker, I thought was fine with a guy that in Michael Barnett who has or Michael Barrett. It is Barrett. I thought it was Barrett. Michael Barrett that had been a tackling machine for Michigan, has some injuries history, but other than that, could play a decent role in special teams if he makes the roster. Jimmy, you're up on the Panthers. Okay, Jimmy is frozen. Well, I guess I will go ahead on the Bills then. And Jimmy is blacked out now. On to Buffalo. The Bills 33rd overall in the second round. First pick, like I said, traded back with the Panthers there. Got wide receiver Keon Coleman from Florida State. Second round also 60th overall, safety Cole Bishop from Utah. Third round, 95th defensive tackle Dwayne Carter from Duke. Fourth round, 128 running back Ray Davis from Kentucky. Fifth round, 141st center Cedric Van Pran Granger, UGA. Go Dogs. Fifth round, two more picks in the fifth round. 160th linebacker Edefuan Ulofoshio from Washington. Sixth round, 168 edge rusher Javon Solomon from Troy. Two sixth rounders, 204 offensive tackle Tylen Grable from UCF. 219 corner Daquan Hardy from Penn State. And seventh rounder, 221 offensive tackle Travis Clayton from England. So, Jimmy, I just said the Bills. I just said the Bills. So do the Bills first and then go back and say what you want on the Panthers.
All right, I'll start on the Bills. I think it wasn't who they took. It's what they did. I think trading back twice to get out of the first round was very odd. Trading back with a team like the Chiefs, a team that you are genuinely a playoff rival with, that has constantly bit you in the side, like going out and helping this team just really didn't make sense to me. And then turning around and trading back one spot to put you in a position where you don't get a fifth-year option for a guy like Keon Coleman was really odd. I know this Bills team lost a lot of guys in the offseason. So maybe their approach was quantity over quality and just trying to get as many players as they can. And we see that with how many picks they had. But my weird thing was like, why would you trade with the Chiefs? Why would you trade with a team that has constantly been a playoff rival for you? Why would you help a team like that improve? And then turning around and moving back one spot, maybe they value getting more picks over that fifth-year option for Keon Coleman. But I wasn't super impressed with the return they got from Carolina. Was it just like moving back? Wasn't it like 33rd and like a fourth or a fifth or something like that? It was just a fifth.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I can't remember the trade, but if I'm looking at the draft, it looks like it was a fifth because they have 3 fifth rounds here. So it might have been the Panthers' fifth. I don't know. But given that, I do like the guys they did get. I do like Coleman. After losing Diggs and Gabe Davis, you desperately needed a wide receiver. And Keon Coleman, I really like his upside. I like Cole Bishop. This is a team that also lost a ton of defensive backfield depth, and filling that need right away was really, really smart. I really like Dwayne Carter. He was one of my favorite defensive tackles in this draft. I like Ray Davis. Cedric Van Pran, go Dogs, you boys. I mean, he was one of my favorite centers of this draft, probably my third behind both JPJ and Frazier. I mean, getting him in the fifth was really shocking. I've seen Sad Van Pran in late third a lot. So getting him in the fifth was really impressive. I'm not going to attempt to say that name, but linebacker is always a good need. Edge is pretty good. I like doubling up on offensive line later in the draft and getting another cornerback late. So I definitely don't hate the picks. I think a lot of them are very good. I hate how they got the picks. I hate how they put themselves in a position to not have a fifth-year option for Keon Coleman. I hate how they helped improve a team like the Chiefs, a team that has had wide receiver depth problems, and basically just handed them one of the most projectable wide receivers in this draft in Xavier Worthy. But the guys they did get, especially those first 5 guys, I really like. So it's definitely a quantity draft for a team that really needed quantity. They lost a ton this offseason. But in terms of quality, I'm kind of iffy. I think these are solid players, but I don't see them as just household names. But they should help this team continue to be a playoff team for years to come.
Now go do your Panthers.
My Panthers. Your Panthers, actually. Not my Panthers. Jeez, what am I talking about? I love it and I hate it at the exact same time. I love that this team had a ton of issues with offensive talent. I mean, when your best receiver is Adam Thielen, freaking yikes, man, just yikes. So I like Leggett. You mentioned you didn't like his size. That is that is an obvious issue, but I like his projectability. I like his kind of like, you look at him, I see him just like a ton of gadgetry. The kind of player that you can really make plays for to get the defense on their heels and make him an exciting player. You can give him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. You could make a lot of just exciting plays behind the line, get him moving behind the line, move him in action, give him a head start. I see him as a very projectable, fun wide receiver, and as I mentioned with the Bills, getting a fifth-year option on him, very solid. I love Brooks. I really love Brooks. I think him and Irving were my two favorite running backs in this draft. And God, Carolina could not run the ball all season last year. Just couldn't. You could blame that more on their offensive line than the talent they had, but the talent they had was awful. And then Ja'Tavion Sanders, I think consensus second best tight end in this draft. Getting him in the fourth is fantastic. So that's what I really love. What I really don't like, their offensive line was awful last year. Maybe there wasn't a need to get offensive line, but I really think they could have gotten projectable guys at the offensive line and improved that position, at least depth-wise. I think they signed a couple guys in free agency, or was it? I don't think it was. I know they signed a few guys. So maybe they're very high on those free agent signings. But I really think they could have benefited from drafting one, maybe not doubling up on linebacker. Maybe they could have gone lineman in the third round instead of Trayvon Wallace. I feel like Trayvon Wallace was a little bit of a reach. But as I was saying with the Bills, almost the opposite with the Panthers. They got a lot of quality, especially on the offensive side. They could have really benefited from quantity. I feel like this would have been a team that could have really benefited, especially in the fifth or sixth round, maybe finding a team that wanted to trade up for them and get an extra sixth or an extra seventh and, rounded out that draft by getting maybe a projectable center or a projectable offensive lineman in the fifth, sixth, or seventh round with an extra pick. But given that, yes, I really like the guys they got. I think they saw the problems they had with the offense of Bryce Young last year, and they said, hey, we're going to give this guy, guys he can rely on. I really like what they did. My biggest problem is I wish they got guys in the draft that could protect Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young, God, it felt like he was running for his life every single play.
Yeah, but, I mean, they did sign, so they got their interior signed in free agency. Like I said, Corbett at center, Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt at guard, and then they got their swing tackle as well in free agency, and Josh Nyman from the Packers.
Yes, I do remember that.
They did, though, undrafted free agency, a guy I really liked from Oklahoma, Andrew Rame.
Okay.
They signed him. But they have a bunch of other guys that they have drafted in the last 3 years. I guess last 4 years. Because Brady Christensen at center, third rounder in 21. Cade Mays at guard, sixth rounder in 22. And then Chandler Zavala, fourth rounder last year at guard as well.
Okay, so they're not, I would say they're not dying there, but I would say if they had an extra pick, they would have gone offensive line. I think they were a team I think maybe should have traded back, maybe that fifth round, that pick where they got Shaw Smith, Wade, maybe find a team that had a fifth and a sixth that they could have gone, and maybe Smith Wade fell later in the fifth and they still got him, and then an offensive lineman. But that's reading too into it. There's a good chance they probably wouldn't have got Smith Wade if they traded back. So if they were in that situation where they needed Smith Wade more than getting an extra lineman plus another defensive back later in the draft, then I won't poop on them too much. But like I said, I think it was definitely just the problem. Just they didn't have enough draft picks. So I can't love on the draft, but the guys they got, I think, are very solid, especially on the offensive side.
Yeah, and I do want to say the Panthers did an awesome job in the second round, making the steal of the draft, and the worst trade everyone is saying this year was the Rams, and the Rams traded up. They traded up, I forget to whatever pick it was, 252, I think it was. The Panthers traded back to 52, and they picked up a second rounder in 2025. So that's excellent work by the Panthers front office there. And then they traded back up to 46 to get Jonathan Brooks, which I know some people didn't like, but I thought it was fine.
I think it's pretty solid.
Originally, I had edge rush as a big need. Obviously, they traded Brian Burns away. They did a good job in free agency, though, securing and solidifying that with DJ Wonnum from the Vikings. They got Jadeveon Clowney from the Ravens, Kayvon Chason from the Jags, and, of course, they had 23 third-rounder DJ Johnson going into year 2. Cam Gill also from the Bucs coming over is a special teams guy that can give you some rotational depth as well. But yeah, like I said, I was left with no needs for Carolina when you account for the Corbett signing at center. The Bills, I was left with a need. I was left with wide receiver because I had wide receiver times 2 for Buffalo. I thought they needed to double up on wide out. Their depth is not convincing. At least I think it. There's a lot of dudes. I say this a lot, but this is one of the positions in the NFL on a team that has a lot of dudes, but they don't have a lot of stars. Keon Coleman, obviously, I love that. I have been a big guy on Keon Coleman, who is a big dude. He's 6'4", big body, jump ball kind of receiver. The kind of guy that Josh Allen's going to love throwing to. He's not going to be your deep guy. That's going to be Khalil Shakir. And they have Curtis Samuel to kind of work over the middle as well. But other than that, Mac Hollins, Chase Claypool, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Justin Shorter, who they drafted in the 5th round last year, KJ Hamler, Andy Isabella, and then a bunch of other guys. But yeah, it's I don't think it's great. If one of those guys goes down, it's going to be a struggle for Josh Allen and co. Luckily, he has good tight ends. I think this is a team that should run your favorite formation, Jimmy, 12 personnel a ton this year.
Woo!
Because I think that's their best receiving asset is Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I think those are their two, maybe number 2 and number 3. It's kind of hard to say, but I would put Keon Coleman as number 1 right now. Receiving option. I mean, you could probably put Kincaid there after he had a great rookie season, but I think 12 personnel, and I think they would benefit from running the ball more after they kind of did that down the stretch with James Cook. So I think they would be good doing that. The rest of the draft, though, Cole Bishop. I love Cole Bishop. I have loved his game since the draft process started. Excellent free safety. He's going to start. Our lads has him starting right now with Taylor Rapp in the back end. And they're really not much competition, to be honest. Mike Edwards they got from the Chiefs. D. Delaney from the Bucks. I don't see him doing much. And then they have DeMar Hamlin.
Dude,
whatever that means. He should not have been comeback player of the year.
Yeah, but who's going to run their fake punts for them?
I like the Carter selection. They needed some D tackle depth and a potential starter in the future next to Ed Oliver there. Ray Davis is a good option as well. I think RB2 was one thing that I had for them on my needs. And right now that's Ty Johnson. I think Ray Davis is a much better player than Ty Johnson is. Sid Van Pran, we already talked about him. Good player. Possibly the future starter for Connor McGovern, who they signed from Dallas. Ulofoshio, it's another good one there. They have kind of overturned their linebacking core the last couple of seasons, and Ulofoshio, he's going to have to battle Balin Spector there for that fourth off-ball spot, depending on if they keep 4 or 5. He might not have to fight anyone. But Nicholas Morrow also on the team, so we'll see. Mm-hmm. Solomon, I'm not sure if he can make the team or not, depending on how many DNs they keep and how many D linemen overall, because he's third string right now. They have a lot of guys. They got, obviously, Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Von Miller. They signed Dwayne Smoot in free agency. They signed Casey Toohill in free agency. And they got a couple of really solid undrafted guys. David Ugwogbu from Houston and Rondell Bothroyd as well from Oklahoma, I think, are two guys that could be interesting in camp anyways. Love my guy Daquan Hardy. I thought 219 was crazy good value for him. Kind of another position. There's a ton of guys at the corner position for Buffalo, but they lost, like you said. Tre'Davious White is gone. That was a big loss, but he's on the older side, so they want to get younger. I think Hardy could possibly make this team. As far as I'm counting, yeah, he should be able to make the team. He's probably the 5th guy at the corner spot, maybe 6, depending on how many they keep. And the tackles are all right. I like Tylen Grable. I mean, both of these guys probably won't make the team, though. When I'm just looking at the roster, I don't know if they'll probably won't make the team. But I like Grable. He's a good projectable guy from UCF. I have nothing on Travis Clayton. He was a English rugby star coming over to the NFL and the International Player Pathway Program, getting drafted. Excellent to do that right there. But he's going to be a practice squad guy, and who knows? Maybe I mean everyone is trying to be like the Eagles. Everyone's trying to find that Jordan Mailata, like they found from Australian rules football there and Australian rugby, but no one has been able to replicate it so far. So, but everyone's trying to get that, and that's what the Bills hope that Travis Clayton will turn into. All right. Let's do grades here. So the Panthers, I am going to give the Panthers a B. I had B+ in my head, but like we kind of talked about, the defensive selections were okay, but not the greatest. So I'm going with a B for Carolina.
Yeah. I'm going to go B-. I like the offensive selections. I'm kind of in your boat. Other than Smith Wade, I'm not a huge fan of defensive. I think, especially the 3rd round, I think they could have been better served with going just about anywhere else. They could have gone offensive tackle in the 3rd. They could have gone corner in the 3rd.
Corner would have been great in the 3rd.
Corner in the 3rd would have been good. Yeah, and as I said, I think they lacked quantity, and this was a team that needed quantity after just what we saw last season, honestly, last 2 seasons. But B- is okay. I mean, I really like the offensive guys. They really uplift this draft, and I think Smith Wade could be a very good rotational piece. And who knows, maybe Trevin Wallace makes me eat my words, and maybe he becomes a good rotational linebacker, and maybe these other defensive players in the bottom half of the draft prove me wrong. But right now, I just got to go B-.
Yeah, Smith Wade's a nickel. That's why he lasted until the fifth.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you got for Buffalo?
Buffalo, I'm gonna double up on B minus and give them a B minus. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, I like the first 5 picks, but I don't see standouts. I see very solid rotational pieces. I think Coleman's I think if you're going in the season with Coleman wide receiver one, or with long term Coleman wide receiver one, I think that's a really weak wide receiver depth chart. I like Bishop. I think he's going to be a very solid starter. I think Dwayne Carter would be a good 1-2 punch with Oliver. I like Ray Davis as a running back too, and I think Van Pran is very projectable. But I don't see consistent Pro Bowlers. I don't see consistent All Pro players in that bunch. I see pretty solid players that a lot of people go, oh, he's very underrated, but nothing more than that. And then the bottom half, I think, is pretty okay. But again, the entire draft to me is almost the opposite of the Panthers. It's just a lot of quantity, a lot of pretty all right, but nothing that just blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a B plus. I was thinking about going with a B, but I was teetering with B and B plus, but I like B plus. Like we talked about, the top half was, I thought, really good. I was gonna say excellent, but I went with really good instead. Love Coleman. Absolutely love Cole Bishop. He's going to be a superstar at safety, at free safety. Carter's good, has pass rush upside. Davis, I'm interested to see how James Cook works with some not really too high of a draft pick, but some competition there as a hard runner like Davis. Van Pran, I think he's a good, predictable guy at center. And then I like Ulofoshio and Solomon, two really solid players. Gonna have to fight for roster spots because both of those spots on the Bills roster are pretty stacked right now. And then like my guy Hardy in the tackles, like I said, I don't see either making this team. Clayton, they're gonna get Clayton on the practice squad without using a spot because he is an IPP player, so he gets an exemption from the roster, so they can keep him without having to use a roster spot on the practice squad, which will probably go to Tyler Grable more than likely on the practice squad there. But yeah, I like B plus. I think they're the Ulofoshio, Solomon, and Hardy. They're going to be some good rotational pieces. Van Pran Granger is probably not going to play a ton this year, but the top four I think will be really good players. And I think with the production that Cole Bishop showed, I'm putting Cole Bishop right now into the defensive rookie of the year position.
All right.
Not winning it, but I'm putting him up for it. I think he's going to be one of the guys at the end of the year that's going to be up for it.
Yeah, I could see that. Kind of one of those. Who was that corner for Dallas that everyone loved? He was a rookie. He had a ton of picks, but he gave up a ton of yards. So
I don't know.
It was like this year. It was huge
because Deron Bland.
Yeah, the guy that had like every pick six known to man.
Deron Bland wasn't a rookie though.
Oh, he wasn't? Maybe it was just the first time we noticed.
He was up for defensive player of the year though.
That's right.
Early in the year until he fell off second half.
Do they realize he's an all-in defensive player that goes all in for the picks and can't play coverage?
Yeah. Yeah, double move city out there.
Oh, easy. You just had to do a cutback and then just go away, and then he would bite on the cutback.
Yeah. All right. That is our grades for the Bills and the Panthers. Next week, I dubbed it Training Camp Week 1 because it's going to be our first show in July. July 5th is next Friday. So I don't know if you're going to be here. I know I will. But
I won't be back home, so we'll see.
Okay. Well, we're gonna start. We're gonna get into our training camp swing, and we're gonna start looking at the season. AFC East season preview coming up next Friday. We're wrapping up the draft recaps on Monday with the Texans and the Browns, and then it's on. It's July. I mean, it's July on Monday, but it's really on next Friday when we start looking at the season, looking at what these teams have done in the off season, and putting it all together, what the teams look like, since there's not much transactionally going on right now, and we won't give our picks necessarily for like record wise for the AFC. Actually, no, we will do records. We'll do records, but obviously they're going to be in a vacuum. So every divisional preview is going to be probably not add up, to the overall wins losses record, since we're only doing the division itself. But yeah, that is the next two shows. Thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast and Instagram and X. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And we will see y'all back on Monday.